Commander Veltar stood upon the command deck of the exploration vessel Distant Echo, watching as the strange azure world expanded across the main display. His hands slid over the control arrays with seasoned precision, while his multifaceted eyes scanned readouts that defied logic. This planet should not exist. The galaxy's outer rim was a wasteland of radiation storms and stellar winds that erased any chance of life before it could begin. And yet, here was a thriving sphere, glowing with all the unmistakable signs of civilization. The Galactic Council had governed 12,000 star systems for so long that most races could no longer recall life before its rule. The Zephyrians, with crystalline intellects, could outthink the finest machines. The Quran stood 3 meters tall and could twist steel as if it were clay. The elegant Luminari wielded energy with thought alone and endured for millennia. Each of these great peoples had claimed their seat on the council through strength and wisdom. Veltar belonged to the Nixari, a race of explorers and scientists who charted the void. For 50 cycles he had pressed into the rim, venturing where no other civilization dared. Radiation alone should have ended his crew within days. Yet their shields held and the strange signals lured him deeper. His communications officer, Xena, raised her gaze from her console, confusion etched across her blue features. "Commander, the signals are intensifying. These scans show immense population centers and active orbital traffic. How can this be possible in a dead zone?" Veltar's mandibles clicked as he pondered. Council researchers had declared the rim barren after exhaustive surveys 3 centuries earlier. Only microbes if that should persist. Yet the screens told a different story. "Continue scanning. I want everything about this system before we attempt contact." He turned to navigation. "Bring us into observation orbit, shields at maximum. If intelligent life is here, they may see us as hostile." As Distant Echo closed on the planet, the displays filled with even more impossibilities. Industrial signatures blanketed the world, orbital stations hung in its skies, and ships moved freely between surface and space. None of the technological markers matched Council archives, yet they bore every sign of an advanced society. Xena's voice carried equal parts excitement and alarm. "Commander, I'm detecting communications from the surface. Language unknown, but the mathematical structuring suggests they already know we're here." Before Veltar could reply, a contact appeared on tactical. A sleek silver vessel, half the Echo's size, rose from atmosphere on an intercept vector. Its design was graceful, its propulsion signatures strange. "They're moving to meet us," reported the tactical officer. "No weapons detected, but their tech is unreadable." Veltar's hearts quickened. First contact always carried danger, but discovering advanced life within the rim shattered everything the Council believed. Survival here implied knowledge or abilities beyond comprehension. The silver vessel slid into formation beside them and began broadcasting a sequence of mathematical codes. Xena worked feverishly to unravel the transmission as Veltar studied the alien craft. Advanced, yet unlike anything he had ever seen. "Commander," Xena reported, "they request permission to board. Their codes indicate peaceful intent, and they are transmitting basic biological data. They require an oxygen-nitrogen mix at standard pressure. Protocol demanded Council approval before diplomacy. Yet this chance might never come again." Scientific curiosity overcame caution. "Grant docking permission. Security teams on standby, weapons cold. If they meant us harm, they'd have acted already." The alien ship attached smoothly to the Echo's main airlock, maneuvering with practiced skill. Veltar, flanked by senior officers and a small guard, moved to the chamber. The lock cycled, and the door revealed 3 beings unlike any in Council archives. They stood on 2 legs like the Luminari, but shorter, stockier. Their forms were clothed in crafted materials, not armor or exoskeleton. Most striking were their faces, alive with emotion and expression. The figure at the front stepped forward, removed a transparent helm, and revealed short, dark hair with keen brown eyes that seemed to drink in every detail. When he spoke, his voice carried clarity and confidence despite the gulf of language. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Fleet. We welcome you to our space, and hope this meeting will be the beginning of friendship between our peoples." Veltar engaged his universal translator. The translator activated, processing the alien speech for long seconds before producing halting words. Veltar responded slowly, using the simplest terms possible so meaning would not be lost. I am Commander Veltar of the Galactic Council exploration vessel Distant Echo. We are honored to meet you, though your presence here astonishes us. Our scholars believed no life could endure this region. Captain Morrison smiled, a gesture radiating warmth and faint amusement. We've been hearing that quite often. Would you care to see our world? I think you'll find it interesting. As the two delegations worked through the fragile first steps of communication, Veltar realized he was witnessing history. These beings, humans, as they named themselves, had not merely endured the galaxy's deadliest sector, but had raised a civilization from it. The consequences were immense, threatening to overturn the very foundations of Council science and belief. First contact with humanity had begun, and nothing could remain the same. Dr. Threndall adjusted his instruments for the third time, yet the results refused to change. The human before him should not be alive by any known biological law. Radiation at such levels would kill nearly every Council species within minutes. Yet Marine Sergeant Rick Torres stood calm, unaffected, as if surrounded only by a summer breeze. After Commander Veltar's initial encounter, the Council had dispatched its most skilled experts to study these improbable beings. Reports had reached the inner systems quickly, and Dr. Threndall, renowned xenobiologist, was chosen to lead the mission. His six-limbed body and accelerated nervous system allowed him to analyze living systems faster than machines, yet nothing in his long career had prepared him for Earth. Captain Morrison granted open access, welcoming research teams across human space and offering volunteers freely. This eagerness to share knowledge baffled many Council scientists who expected secrecy and hostility from such a formidable species. Torres stepped from the radiation chamber, peeling off a simple protective suit. Exposure that would demand extreme medical intervention for a Zephyrian left the human completely unshaken. Already he asked when the next experiment could begin. "How do you feel?" Dr. Threndall inquired through his translator. Torres shrugged, that strange human gesture of endless meanings. "Fine, I guess. Maybe a little warm, but nothing serious. My grandfather worked in nuclear plants his whole life and lived to 93. We're pretty tough." Threndall made swift notes, struggling to convert 93 human years into Council terms. Their lifespans were short compared to advanced civilizations, yet filled with astonishing breadth of experience. Even more troubling was how casually Torres described generations exposed to lethal materials, as if such dangers were part of daily life. In the next chamber, Dr. Amy Richardson was demonstrating human medicine before a circle of luminary healers. The radiant beings watched in both awe and dismay as she performed surgery on a willing subject using methods they deemed crude when measured against their own energy-based healing. Yet results could not be denied. The patient, injured in what humans called a motorcycle accident, was rapidly recovering. Richardson explained that her people often pursued activities other species would consider wildly reckless, whether for transport or recreation. The luminary healers exchanged uneasy glances. The luminary could scarcely fathom a species that hurled themselves across landscapes in metal machines at reckless speed simply for amusement. "You must understand humans have always lived with risk," Dr. Richardson explained as her skilled hands worked within the patient's body. "Our world forced us to adapt or perish. We chose to adapt," the healer Salandre, her voice like chiming bells, replied with puzzlement. "But surely, as your civilization advanced, you developed technology to remove such hazards." Richardson paused and lifted her gaze, her expression carrying that familiar glint of human amusement. "We did. We made safer options. But we kept the dangerous ones anyway. Humans need challenge and risk to feel truly alive. Take that away, and we stop being who we are." Her words rippled confusion through the Council observers. Every known species had used progress to reduce danger, forging stable, secure societies. The concept of preserving peril for psychological fulfillment was beyond comprehension. At a military installation, General Cathan observed human soldiers training in scenarios that defied all tactical reason. The Carathan warrior, towering nearly 3 meters tall and clad in natural armor that turned aside energy fire, had studied warfare for millennia, yet what he saw unsettled him. Corporal Danny Brooks and Lieutenant Sophie Green moved through their course with uncanny precision, wielding crude kinetic arms that should have been useless against modern defenses. Their movements seemed to mock physics itself, their strategies brutally effective. Most alarming of all, they continued to fight despite wounds that would cripple other species. "Explain your doctrine," Cathan demanded through his translator. Lieutenant Green paused in maintaining her weapon, then answered calmly. "Improvise, adapt, overcome. We plan for failure, bad intel, broken gear, half our unit gone. No matter what, we keep fighting." The general's mandibles clicked in disbelief. "But what if you cannot overcome? What if the battle is beyond hope?" Brooks lifted his head, flashing that fierce human grin. "Then we make them pay so high a price that they'll think twice before crossing us again." "We don't quit. We don't surrender." Cathan had studied war across countless civilizations. All had eventually embraced the idea of acceptable loss, of retreat for survival. Humanity alone treated hopeless odds as a challenge to conquer. The Council's unease deepened after Dr. Methic of the Zephyrian Collective completed his psychological evaluations. Human minds showed staggering diversity. Unlike the unified thoughts of advanced species, each brain operated as a sovereign unit, capable of wild creativity and unexpected problem-solving. Engineer Paul Jackson embodied this during the Kepler 442b disaster. When the colony's reactor suffered a meltdown that should have annihilated all life, Paul and his crew entered the irradiated zone without hesitation. For 18 hours they worked under lethal exposure, cobbling solutions from scraps and improvisation. When asked why he risked everything, Jackson's reply became the essence of humanity itself. "Because 60,000 people were counting on us. Failure wasn't an option. You do whatever it takes to protect your own." The Council archives filled with reports, each more unsettling. Humans lacked the towering strength of the Carathans, the radiant energy mastery of the Luminari, the collective mind of the Zephyrians, or the longevity of most starfaring species. Instead, they carried something new to the galaxy, an unbroken survival drive, sharpened by struggle and impossible to predict. Humanity had carried its primal survival instincts into the age of advanced intelligence and technology. They did not avoid hardship, they sought it, treating adversity as fuel for growth. Most astounding of all, they had turned their frail mortality into their greatest strength, making each short life so meaningful that many would willingly give everything to shield others. The galaxy was slowly realizing this was not simply another species, but something utterly new in the universe. High Arbiter Zone reviewed the human research reports for the 5th time and felt something alien to his 3 millennia of existence. Fear. Not the primal fear of injury or death, but a profound existential dread at what these revelations meant for the very pillars of Council civilization. The crystalline giant who presided as the Council's supreme authority summoned an emergency session after Dr. Threndall's findings reached the inner systems. In the Great Chamber of Nexus Prime, representatives of every major species gathered to confront what many were already calling the human problem. The phrase itself revealed how deeply shaken the galaxy's most advanced minds had become. Zone's voice rolled through the chamber like thunder over mountains. "We face a situation without precedent. The beings found at the galaxy's edge defy our understanding of evolution, intelligence, and society. We must decide what their existence means for the stability of our collective order." Ambassador Kyle Rath of the Zephyrian Collective spoke first. His crystalline body shimmered with shifting light as he conveyed the consensus of billions of linked minds. "Our studies confirm that human thought is chaotic by civilized standards. They lack collective consciousness, unified decision-making, or structured thought patterns. Yet this disorder generates innovation and adaptability beyond anything we possess." The Zephyrian analysis outlined humanity's alien approach to solving problems. Where advanced species depended on consensus and careful logic to achieve optimal outcomes, humans leaned on individual brilliance and reckless improvisation. Their disordered cognition birthed breakthroughs that organized minds could never reach. Then General Torkan of the Quran Assembly rose, his armored bulk darkening the hall. Their military potential is more alarming than their biology. Our soldiers train for centuries to achieve skills humans acquire in a handful of years. They offset their frailty with unpredictable strategies and an absolute refusal to surrender. The report revealed that humans routinely drilled for circumstances Koran strategists classified as no-win. They trained for planetary invasions, nuclear annihilation, total societal collapse, even alien wars as ordinary scenarios. Most troubling was their doctrine of asymmetric conflict, which assumed they would always face stronger foes and prepared accordingly. In the Human Observer section, Dr. Karen White listened as the galaxy's rulers dissected her people like a dangerous phenomenon. An Earth anthropologist, she had volunteered despite knowing her presence made her a subject as much as a liaison. The luminary envoy Velandra spoke next, her voice like a sorrowful melody. We have observed their emotional response to grief and loss. Where our kind heals through energy and shared meditation, humans appear to convert pain into drive. They turn suffering into fuel, not something to erase. This struck at the very core of humanity's strangeness. Every advanced race had used science and society to erase trauma and ensure harmony. Humans had gone the opposite way, accepting pain as a crucible for strength and growth. The testimonies went on. Aquatic Mayor. Dari described human ventures beneath crushing ocean depths, far beyond rational safety. The silicon-based Vulcani reported their survival in volcanic regions that should have been instantly lethal. Each account added new layers of impossibility. Reports all conveyed the same image of a species that deliberately sought out dangers others would instinctively flee. High Arbiter Xanth summoned Dr. Karen White to speak before the assembly. The human anthropologist rose to face beings who could annihilate her world with ease, yet she spoke with steady confidence that impressed even her skeptics. Honored delegates, I understand your concern regarding my people. We know we differ from you in ways that may appear threatening or incomprehensible, but I ask you to see that everything unsettling about us arises from the same source as what you might admire. Dr. White triggered a holographic display of Earth's geological and climatic past. Our planet tried to erase us for millions of years, endless ice ages, volcanic eruptions that blotted out the sun, asteroids that wiped out most life, diseases that ravaged entire populations. Every generation of humans endured extinction level, threats that would have destroyed any rational civilization. The display revealed catastrophes that would have driven any sane species to abandon Earth and find safer worlds. Yet humans endured, adapting to each disaster. They cultivated crops during climate upheaval, raised cities in quake zones, and preserved culture through wars and plagues that should have ended them. We learned survival requires more than avoiding danger, Dr. White explained. It demands confronting impossible odds and forcing a path forward. What you call recklessness, we call necessity, for caution alone could never keep us alive. Ambassador Thrill of the Nebular Collective raised the question echoing through the chamber. Why did your kind not create safer technologies and evolve beyond such primitive survival? All others eventually transcend their hostile origins. Dr. White's answer revealed humanity's defining truth. Because we discovered struggle itself made us stronger. Each trial we overcame sharpened us for the next. We could have chosen perfect safety, but in doing so, we would have lost what makes us human. The chamber descended into silence as her words sank in. Other civilizations had used intellect and tools to escape hardship. Humans had wielded the same to embrace and endure it. They had bound their identity to adversity rather than fleeing from it. High Arbiter Xanth processed countless data streams and formed a conclusion that would alter galactic history. The humans represent what we have never seen before. They are at once the most primitive and the most advanced species we have encountered. Their philosophy overturns every assumption about intelligence and security. The findings proved humanity was not merely another race to catalog or assimilate. They were evidence that civilization itself could evolve through fundamentally different paths. Progress and advancement could no longer be defined the same way. Chief Historian Meriden, who had devoted centuries to the archives of galactic history, found nothing had prepared him for the data he uncovered deep beneath the council chambers. The elder Zeparian's crystalline form pulsed with alarm as he cross-checked human genetic codes against records once dismissed as myth. The trail began when Dr. Ben Taylor sought access to restricted archaeological databases. The human researcher, collaborating with xenoarchaeologists, had been investigating ruins scattered through human space. What he uncovered were structures identical to those attributed in the Council's oldest records to the vanished precursors of 12 millennia past. Dr. Taylor now stood in the ancient vault, surrounded by crystalline data stores that preserved the galaxy's first memories. His human eyes traced holographic projections of architectural forms and technological imprints his people used daily. The parallels were far too exact to dismiss as coincidence. "This is impossible," Dr. Taylor muttered to Meriden while comparing Earth structures with precursor ruins on dozens of alien worlds. "These methods are standard human engineering. We've practiced them for thousands of years. Yet your archives claim the precursors vanished long before humans touched space." Meriden extended his mind into the vast memory of his species, searching for some thread that might preserve their cherished history. What he unearthed instead was evidence that broke every foundation of galactic belief. Human DNA matched precursor samples with a precision too perfect to deny. The revelation pressed like crushing weight until Meriden's crystalline thoughts splintered under its enormity. The beings revered as ancients or precursors had not vanished into myth. They had fled to the rim, where cosmic storms and hostile void reshaped them across countless generations into something their ancestors would not recognize. Navigator Sarah Kim worked with Council star cartographers, charting forgotten hyperspace corridors humans considered routine. The maps she revealed proved these paths were not recent discoveries, but ancestral legacies, roots older than Council civilization itself. "Look at this," Sarah said as she layered human navigation charts over the oldest Council records. "Every junction, every sanctuary, every path through hostile space. We know them because our forebears mapped them when they ruled the stars. Each discovery reinforced the impossible truth. Human tools mirrored precursor artifacts. Human equations appeared in ancient manuals. Human speech carried root forms predating all Council tongues. Most damning genetic analysis showed humans bore unique markers absent in every other race, but present in all precursor samples." Dr. Vexathari, Council archaeologist, had devoted centuries to ruins she never fully grasped. Yet working with Dr. Taylor revealed patterns hidden in plain sight. The ancients had not built for modern Council forms. Their cities were made for beings like humans. Doorways matched proportions for bipeds of human stature, she testified. Controls require appendages identical to human hands. Atmospheric systems are calibrated for oxygen-nitrogen environments at Earth-like pressures. We have been studying the homes of our galaxy's first civilization, unaware its children still walk among us. Meriden's recovered chronicles depicted disaster 12 millennia past. Fragmented accounts spoke of cosmic upheaval, stellar storms, and a calamity called the Great Dying that drove the ancients to the rim. There began the greatest survival saga in history. Severed from their technologies, stripped to bare survival, the ancients adapted. They became a species able to endure anywhere, to triumph where others would perish. Dr. Taylor worked with linguists decoding fragments scattered across human space. The records traced how exile had reshaped a comfort-seeking civilization into one that sought challenge as necessity. "It took thousands of years," Taylor told the Council. "Each generation confronted extinction. The weak perished, the strong endured. Over time, my ancestors ceased using tools to escape hardship and began using hardship itself as their tool. Genetics confirmed it. Human DNA bore unique signatures identical only to precursor lines. The truth was undeniable. Humans were not simply descendants, they were the ancients themselves, reforged by 12,000 years of relentless survival into a species their forebears could never have foreseen." Chief Historian Meriden compiled the final account with trembling hands despite his people's calm nature. The report would forever rewrite galactic identity. The supposed primitives from the rim were in truth the rightful heirs of everything the Council held dear. the Spherians' unity, the Quran's strength, the luminaries' transcendence. All achievements paled beside what humans had built from sheer defiance of extinction. The greatest civilization had not perished 12 millennia ago. It had risen anew in the crucible of the Rim as something greater than before. The exiled ancients had become humanity, and through becoming human, they had reached a destiny beyond anything their first age had ever imagined. It was a kind of immortality no other race could match. The children of the galaxy had returned, but as beings their ancestors could never have imagined. The revelation would change everything, and nothing would ever be the same again. High Chancellor Kores stood in the great amphitheater of Nexus Prime, addressing trillions across the stars through quantum networks. The ancient Quran, who had ruled the Galactic Council for over 8 centuries, had never known a moment of such gravity. In his massive hands, he held the report that shattered 12 millennia of belief. The truth had spread like wildfire since Chief Historian Meriden released his findings. Humans were not strangers from the Rim, but the descendants of the ancients, rightful heirs of everything the Council had built. Captain Alex Turner stood at the Chancellor's side, a young officer in the simple blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. His calm poise was a quiet defiance of the storm of emotions rippling through alien delegations who still struggled to grasp the enormity of what had been revealed. Chancellor Kores spoke, his deep voice carrying the weight of ages. Citizens of the galaxy, we stand today to confront a truth that humbles us all. For 12,000 years, we built our civilization upon the ruins of the ancients, while their children endured exile at the galaxy's edge. The Zeparian collective responded first. Their crystalline forms flickered in patterns of grief never recorded in their long history. Ambassador Kilrath spoke for billions of linked minds. We who pride ourselves on reason-studied ruins and praised precursor marvels, while scorning their descendants as primitives. We were blinded by our arrogance. Across the Furian crystal gardens, lights that had burned steady for millennia dimmed as an entire species tasted sorrow for the first time. The luminary delegation shed tears of radiant energy, falling like silver rain. Valandra's harmonic voice trembled with sadness. We, who bend the very forces of creation, failed to see that the greatest creation of all was the transformation of the ancients into something greater. Humanity has achieved through suffering what we could not through transcendence. Across luminary worlds, eternal lightworks flickered as ancient beings realized they had perfected energy while humanity had perfected endurance. General Torkon of the Quran Assembly rose, his armored bulk diminished by shame. We warriors built our honor on strength, yet we failed to recognize the galaxy's truest warriors. Humans fight not for conquest, but for existence, for the lives of others. They show us strength beyond ours. One by one, the warriors of a dozen species bowed their heads, conceding the battlefield to those they once dismissed. At last, Kores turned to Captain Turner. His voice held both pride and sorrow. On behalf of the Council and all species, I offer humanity our apology, and the governance of the galaxy that rightfully belongs to the descendants of the ancients. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. Would humanity claim their throne? Would they demand vengeance for 12,000 years of exile? When Turner stepped forward, his words carried the quiet certainty the galaxy was only beginning to recognize as uniquely human. Chancellor, honored delegates, we thank you for your acknowledgement, but we decline your offer. We do not wish to rule the galaxy. We wish to stand with you as equals, to build something better together. Shock rippled through the assembly. No one had expected humility. No one had imagined refusal. Yet in that moment, fear dissolved. Humanity had come not as conquerors, but as partners. From that day forward, transformation began. Engineer Grace Martinez worked with council technicians to revive ancient installations, blending human intuition with alien precision to restore technologies thought lost. Marine biologist Dr. Chris Johnson established research outposts in hostile environments, showing others not just how to endure, but how to thrive. Each project became a symbol of unity. Humans taught the Zeparians that individuality could strengthen the collective. They showed the Corans that true strength was measured in protection, not domination. They proved to the Luminari that transcendence came not from avoiding struggle, but from embracing it. Under Turner's guidance, new principles of governance were forged, rooted in human concepts of dignity and responsibility. The galaxy would no longer be ruled by the strongest or longest-lived, but by the wisest and most dedicated. As the ceremonies ended and delegates departed, the galaxy was no longer the same. Humanity had not reclaimed a throne, but offered something greater, the knowledge that home is not a place, but a choice to stand together. And so the galaxy wept, not in sorrow but in joy, for the children had at last come home.